What was the closest you've ever been to killing someone? This unattended kid ran into the street as I turned into it. Didn't even see him at all because of how tiny he was. Just heard something hit my side view mirror and that's when I saw him rubbing his head. I was driving to my aunt's house down a residential street, speed limit 25. I was going the speed limit and maybe a little less because the sun was setting, and in my eyes, in the shade of a tree, this kid rides leisurely across the street. He had to have seen me because there were no cars parked on the street and it wasn't a hill. I didn't see him because of the sun in my eyes and him in the shade of a tree until I was inches from his bike. I slammed on my brakes, slammed on my horn, and just barely missed the kid. He didn't even look at me, didn't acknowledge my presence. It was as if I didn't exist. Maybe he was deaf. I don't know. There were no deaf children at play signs on the street. After collecting myself from the panic attack, I drove on. When I looked in my rearview mirror he was still in the middle of the road on his bike, this time with another kid talking to him. I assume the other kid saw the kid on the bike almost get hit by a car. Nurse here. Unit was very busy, and I mentioned to a patient we needed to start her on antibiotics. Patient consented. I hung penicillin, only to find out our computer said she's anaphylactic allergic to penicillin. Incredibly, she must have outgrown her childhood allergy. Beat myself up for a long time for that near miss. Won't make that mistake again. That's a lesson some people pay dearly to learn. So, good for you. Driving tired once, had a micro sleep, and woke up driving down the wrong side of the road. Fortunately it was late at night, no traffic around, but could easily have killed myself and my passenger. Never driven tired since. I got into a car accident because I fell asleep at the wheel. I was fine. Well, I felt fine. Next thing I knew, my car was going down a steep incline into a deep ditch on the opposite side of the road. Thank Christ no one was coming the other way. I was apparently going slow enough that someone coming the other direction may have had enough time to slow down and watch me crash or hit their horn and maybe it would woken me up. But there is the flip side, that they may not have had time to react and I could seriously hurt or killed someone else. I also worked with a guy who would work 4 doubles and immediately leave work and drive 5 hours back home. He was about 20 minutes from home, made it through the toll booth, and woke up in the middle of the I-90, fully stopped, tractor trailers flying by him on both sides. He could been killed or caused an accident if someone hadn't realized he was stopped and couldn't move over or brake in time. He made it 4.5 hours without issue, only to almost die or kill someone 20 minutes from home. He started sleeping after his last double and would leave in the morning after that incident. Do not drive if you feel tired. Pull over and nap if you've already started driving. Stay home if it's not important you go out. Stay an extra few hours where you are and sleep, if possible. When my younger sister was in middle school, she took a very sudden and unexplained dip in personality. She went from being a bouncy sunny kid who loved going outside and seeing her friends to kind of reserved and struggling to keep her grades up. Her friends stopped coming around, crazy rumors about her started, and she was just overall really depressed and nervous. Our parents were very into the just suck it up mentality, so they told her to just push through and be better. I tried to get her to tell me what had happened, and she told me the same thing she told our parents, that kids at school were bullying her, and her friends were being mean. I didn't buy it, but there was nothing I could do. One day at the dinner table, we were all talking about town gossip as was family custom, and my mom brought up how a teacher at my sister's school was looking for a hand in getting rid of some old furniture from his late father's house, and that my mother had volunteered the family to help out that coming weekend. My sister immediately broke down into having sobs, howling at the top of her lungs, as though someone had died, and you can probably guess where it went from there. She confessed that her teacher's son, who was a sophomore when my sister was in 7th grade, had assaulted her, and when she tried to tell the teacher about it, he shut her down and called her a liar and had said he would fail her if she tried to tell anyone about it. I had to spend the following day in class with this jerk while my parents sorted out how to handle the situation, and it took everything I had not to lose my crap on this kid. I'm not a violent person, but I had to sit there with him a foot away and all I could think about was smashing his face into the tile until the light left his eyes. That was over 10 years ago, and he's in jail now, but I still think I'd have to contain myself if I was in the same room as him again. I had started a grease fire in a pot on the stove while cooking for a date. Panic set in as it was kind of big fire. Only thing I could think of was baking soda would be the only thing to put it out, because that's what they taught us in school, right? Ransacked my cupboards, couldn't find it. Next best thing that came to mind, dirt from outside. Ran outside to get some dirt. Told her not to pour water on it, that I'll be right back. As I'm out there I hear her scream and a flash of orange. My heart sank, and I froze for a second. Did I just kill my date? Back inside, she's fine. Fire is smaller but still going. My walls and ceiling are scorched. I ask her what happened. She replied, she poured milk on the fire, because milk is thicker than water. Okay. Anyway, no one was harmed in all this thankfully, except my bank account, when my security deposit didn't cover the damages done when I moved out later. Oh well. I do have more fire stories from that apartment. Pretty sure my landlord thought I was an arsonist, or a dumb kid on his first time living alone, pretending to be an adult. Edit to add, thank you for all the put the lid on next time recommendations. I now know that's an option. Like I said, I was panicking and wasn't thinking straight. I do now have multiple fire extinguishers throughout my current place. They were all gifted to me by family after I told them this story. Those were fun birthday/Christmas gifts that year. Also there was no second date and we did not smash lol. When I was like 14 or so I was on a swing at a park. I was going about as high and fast as that swing could possibly go. A kid who couldn't be older than 2 wandered directly in front of me as I was coming down. I slammed my feet on the ground and stopped myself about an inch away from her. My hand started to bleed from the chain, but at least I didn't drop kick a 2-year-old all the way across the park. The mother saw the thing happen, but she was too far away from us to do anything in the moment, but she ran over crying and thanking me for stopping. I was the 2-year-old in this situation. My older cousin yeeted me about 8 feet away, or so I'm told. Landed on my face and slid. I'm told my entire face was black and blue for quite a while. My boss asked me why I wasn't doing any work after working a 70-hour work week and taking 1 lunch break for the week. I was so mad and work a job where we carry knives on our person I had to throw it across the room and I just picked up my bag and walked out. This was all before my actual start time, after I had been working almost half an hour and still wasn't supposed to start for a rather half hour. Can relate. Just last year, while home from college over the summer I did landscaping. Was Sunday afternoon, and I was out still working, after putting in 82 hours already for the 5th week in a row. Was in the middle of weed whacking someone's front yard, when I felt like just chucking the weed whacker into the woods, hopping in the truck, and driving straight home, not even bringing the truck back to the shop or mayo. I remember that night I parked the truck back in the shop. When I finally got back at around 10 PM, walked into the building and just quit. Was basically getting $1.8k a week, which for a college student is pretty insane. However, it was pretty much at the cost of my mental health, so I had no choice but to ditch that place. I operate heavy equipment, dozer excavators. These things weigh over 30 tons on the light side for perspective. Anyways, we had just started a brine pond project and had just hired some new laborers. They were as green as they come lol. Anyways, I used my 2-way radio to ask them to come over to where I was to tear down a set of barricades so I could proceed. One of the laborers literally ran right up beside my machine without making direct eye contact or radio contact. Industry standard is to do, so I can safe out the machine. I was backing up at the time, so I was watching behind my machine. When I turned around to go forward, the laborer literally 2 inches from my tracks. Needless to say, I've never pressed the engine decal pedal as fast as I did in that situation. If I was new to the machine or inexperienced, the guy would have been an empty toothpaste roll on the ground. I think about stuff like this a lot, because my dad does this for a living too. People constantly try and squeeze by him on narrow windy dirt roads while he's driving the excavator or a dump truck. Contractors also like to stand too close to the back while he's raising the truck bed to empty gravel or sand or whatever, and it's like, how stupid are you? Exactly. Just be patient FFS. My daddies. So close to retirement and some of the stories I hear are just wild.